for everyone to get here. We'll just... Okay, we had a little connection. Hopefully the connection's good. We'll see what's up. That being said, quick disclaimer while we wait for people to get here. I'm not a medical professional. Nothing I say is intended as health advice. Any major changes you make to your diet or any other aspects of your lifestyle is something you check with a medical provider with before enacting in your own life. I'm also not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is a recommendation for an investment. And I'm a law-abiding citizen. Nothing I say is admission of guilt. Noi, Brenda, Susan, thank you all for being here. I love seeing all these green names. Thank you guys for being members. I love you guys. Or gals, I should say. Whatever. I love you all. I love you all, regardless of your details. But happy Sunday. How are you guys doing? What do you want to talk about? I'm doing actually very good. I rewatched my stream from yesterday on Instagram and I realized it came off sounding a little down. But to be honest, I am really deeply like integrating some of the lessons and insights that I've gotten over the last couple of years, and I just feel very calm, and I guess it's kind of coming off different than usual. But that being said, oh, what's up, Ellen? Good to see you. Good to see you. Zia Hawk, welcome. How's it going in Pakistan? Yeah, so that's good. We got 10 people, 12 people here already. We're doing good. I guess you guys missed me. I'm happy to see that YouTube has not dwindled while I was away. I'm thinking I'm going to make a YouTube comeback. I'm deciding if it's going to be a weekly thing or if we're going to give another shot at like a little daily powwow. As far as, since we're waiting for some questions. Tony, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. Alex, hello, hello. So right now I'm going through a lot of major changes in life. As you guys know, the van, I guess I should give you guys the full update, since I guess not everybody probably knows the update, but basically, some of you know about the van. I got into a accident in Los Angeles, and turns out that the van was a total loss according to the insurance company. So the van is gone, and a good friend that I had met in Sedona came out and rescued the situation, drove me around for a little while, and helped me sort out my things in Los Angeles, and then offered me a room here in Arizona for a little while. So I came out here to kind of digest on the situation, and Sam's right here, by the way, you guys, for the people asking about Sam. You're required. What's up, dude? Sam's still here. So yeah, I got a little cheap vehicle to get me by for a little while, and I'm staying at my buddy's house here in Arizona, and we're preparing to most likely move to Costa Rica, though I am going to go on a little bit of I'm gonna go take care of some business in Vegas and LA on the way to enacting that plan. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with me. 2 days after my van died, my father passed away, which wasn't totally unexpected, but it was difficult nonetheless. So I needed some time to digest the reality of that as well. And I have a funeral still coming up that I am going to have to still, yeah, that's still an event to come. But yeah, I don't know. I've been having a lot of realizations lately. I feel like spiritually, I'm hitting some kind of a weird inflection point where there's the last little mist of illusions are evaporating, and I'm starting to let everything really come into vision, which brings me to the realization that you know, I'm sure most people won't understand exactly what I mean when I say this, but some people may understand what I mean when I say this. And what I'm going to say is really just a very well-known Daoist quote or philosophy. And that's that few can aspire to teach without words. And I know that I've brought that up before, and I had my little episode of silence, and truthfully, I enjoyed that a lot, and I actually look forward to a more vocally quiet life. But I've come to take a completely new realization on the meanings of those words, because even like long before, here's a good example that I thought about this morning, is like long before I ever even had the slightest spiritual inclination. In fact, I was completely and totally ruled by the ego at the time. This is many years ago. I don't know, at least 10 years ago, probably even longer, right? I was leaving an establishment in the Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, where they used to host an event called Porn Star Karaoke. And there was a male talent there who was newer in the industry, but now he's become quite popular. And I didn't know him, but I remember leaving, and at the time this guy ran up to me and stopped me and said, "Oh, I just wanted to meet you," or whatever. He's like, "I'm trying to be like you." And then he referenced like a few of my romance scenes that I had done recently. And I just thought about that this morning, and I was just thinking, I was like, you know what? I've been teaching without words longer than I realized. You know, even in the industry, for say, you know, a person who was once up and coming and is now established had at some point decided to gravitate towards a more romantic style of performance, based upon my past work, right? And I imagine that while I in no means had a flawless track record throughout my career. The vast majority of it did fall within the lines of being both caring and passionate and conscious of what I was creating. And all that was done without the insights that I've obtained in the last couple of years. So I realize now that the stage has come in my life for me to simply be an embodiment of the divine in the way that I understand it and feel it, and that anything that I do should and can, absolutely will reflect that, as long as I maintain a state of conscious awareness. And so I'm going to take the highest route. You know, there's many routes to be took, and I did take one of the more well-traveled paths at some point when I first had my awakening, a path that I feel many in the past have mistakenly gone down. When I say many in the past, I mean people like Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad, who, you know, talked and talked and talked, told the world so many words which few will ever understand. And rather, instead, I've decided I think I want to take a different route, a route where I can teach without words. And I realize that to do that requires only action. It doesn't really require a lot of explanation towards what I'm actually doing. It doesn't really require me to be verbally accountable to anybody's opinions, especially people's opinions whom have not had the experiences in life which I have had. And so I've decided I must trust myself first and foremost, and even beyond that, I must trust my Creator. And I also must honor my body and myself as I was created by my Creator, right? And that includes using all of the talents and gifts which I was bestowed in life, not simply just the insights which I was given, which were truthfully and to be brutally honest, for me and myself only. Those insights were never actually meant for anyone else. They were never actually meant for the internet or the public eye. But nonetheless, that happened. And being that it happened, I realized that it must be divine in its own way as well, because the truth is that the only plan which ever comes true without luck is the divine plan, right? And so rather than falling into the trap of illusion of right and wrong, good and bad, light and dark, I will simply hold true to the fact that everything that has happened so far could only happen through the good grace of the divine. So, that being said, brace yourselves. There's more to be had it's just going to look a little different than what I'm sure some people may have envisioned. But to teach without words is something that, as I said, and as the Tao says, as Lao Tzu himself said, few can aspire to. So, well, sadly, there's only some remnants left over from ages in the past where, timeless quotes such as the aforementioned one were said. I don't have access to any living masters which can guide me on that route. And so my only guide, therefore, is the divine and myself. And as such, I will have to use my own best judgment. And when I say my own best judgment, I mean the judgment of my intuitive mind rather than my logical mind. And do whatever my highest self urges me to do, which is going to be largely guided by unseen forces. But all that said, there's my starting rant. Let me go ahead and see if anyone's got any. You guys can hear Sam chewing. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat now for some questions. If anyone has any questions or answers or wants further clarification on what I just said, now is the time. I'm going to go back and check the chat. Let's see. What's up, Tom? What's up, Ellen? Let's see. I guess okay. Ziolak says, "Sir, I want to know more about the details of your live and which type of questions should be asked in your channel. Please inform." Really any kind of questions. I don't really like to talk about the industry too much, and I definitely don't like to talk about any specific performers. So if it's like that kind of stuff, maybe save that for, I don't know, like an X Spaces or something. But the type of questions that I prefer to be asked are ones pertaining to philosophy, personal problems, difficulties, or endeavors that you have in your own life that you would like a outside review of. I don't know. Pretty much whatever. I'm open to whatever, and I'll just pretty much ignore any questions that are, on the wrong topics. But are you going to bed now? Well, have a good sleep. Sorry I wasn't able to help there. Thank you for the condolences, Susan, Brenda, Noe, thank you all. Anna, good to see you. Raphael. Raphael says, "I think giving up the dream job, #1, to pursue health and other things is one of the most impressive things ever." Well, thank you. Honestly, it was completely worth it. Now I'm starting to realize, though, that, it worked. It worked. Taking some time off, reevaluating life, experiencing what it's like to be whole as yourself and only yourself with nothing else to really cloud your vision, has done so much for me that I'm eternally grateful. I can't possibly, I can't possibly express the level of gratitude I have for that. But I also have come to realize that, if I'm going to be in a world where I'm required to earn some type of, whatever you want to call it, fiat, that I'm definitely while I don't have a lot of, I'm trying to release whatever thoughts I have of right and wrong or moral or immoral or this or that. I have a lot bigger, like spiritually, like whatever insights that I want to bring to that I'm, open to bringing to people, is something that I feel obligated to do out of the kindness of my own heart, out of, gratitude and service for the divine plan, right? But and if that ever becomes something that supports me without me asking for anything, that people choose to find enough value in it that they decide to support me, in a way that I don't need to do anything else, and I can just be my spiritual self and share my insights and tell people the obvious truths, then I will happily do that. But I'm not going to put a price tag on spirituality, The only price tag I really have on spirituality is 100%. It's like, if you're willing to like completely and totally surrender your life, then I'm your guy. I'm your guru. But beyond that, I don't really have anything for anybody. And if I'm going to be forced into a position, which I am, which we all are, of needing to do something for little fake slavery tickets, should we say little negotiable slavery tickets that may or may not have value at any given time, then I'm going to do something which I personally enjoy. And I'm just going to do it in a very conscious and aware way. And truthfully, given the options of talking to people on the internet, or having a passionate experience with a beautiful, tested woman whom is absolutely consenting and so on and so forth, I'm going to choose the latter, to be honest. So that's basically where I've come to with my personal mind. While I know that some people will judge that, it will only be judged from a position of spiritual incompleteness, because the spiritual ego loves to tell people what is right and wrong and what they can and cannot do based upon some spiritual law that they perceive. But let me tell you, if you go far enough, you get right back to the beginning. And while you may never be the same, not much has changed beyond that when that happens. So it's a long journey, and it's also something that I think anybody on the spiritual path should take into consideration, of that no matter how far you think you progressed, unless you can honestly say, I know nothing and I have no opinion and I'm simply here to observe, and that there is nothing dualistic about my inner self and my being, then you haven't gone the whole path. You've got ways to travel still. And I believe that even when you do go in that full circle and you've gone to the path and you realize that the path just simply brings you back to exactly where you started to begin with, then you will have the experience and the I don't want to say knowledge, but you'll have the prerequisites to understand that the path is just a circle and that it's finding the center that really matters. And that is the absolute truth. So there is that. Let's see what else we got. Raphael says, I stretched and opened my mula band, pelvic floor, and lower abdomen, and now I have never felt before bliss at the base of my root. Oh, that's so good. I love that. I love that for you. It's nice. It's really nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool when you start accessing the ability to really control your mental states by using your physical body. It's really interesting when you dissolve that that barrier between the mind and body, and you realize that it's all just a fully interconnected thing, and that a simple flex of the back or an alignment of the spine can completely and totally alter your mental state to where you can be vibing in basically almost any way that you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be mellow, you can be hyped, you can be in a state of ecstasy, you can be in bliss, you can be basically whatever you want to be. And yeah, it's the type of thing where you can only invest everything. But if you do invest everything for long enough, however long it takes, there's absolutely nothing that's more rewardable. And you'll realize that all these other constructs of society are something that you can choose to deal with when you've created the mental fortitude and gained the self-control. When I say self-control, I don't just mean like control over your actions and so on and so forth, but actual control over your thoughts and even control over your body's chemistry. That all these little constructs that human mind created are child's play. You can just kind of do what you wish with that once you're done doing the real work, which is the spiritual work. Welcome, Jasmine. Carolyn, good to see you. Good to see you. Sorry again about the chewing of the Sam. Tony says, in my opinion, doing good and spreading it is better than anything else and is true embodiment of all religious ideas, whether from heaven or from earth. Exactly. Doing good, that's all you can do. Just do the best that you can do. You know, have no ill will. This is the hard part. Look, here's the thing is that the truth is that doing good is an illusion, because even doing the most good over the course of infinity, over the course of infinite time, you have no real way of predicting the outcome. You know what I'm saying? When Jesus was walking the earth telling everyone, you know, whatever he was telling them, which may or may not be what's in the Bible, for example, but whatever he was doing nonetheless, that was inspiring people at the time, right? He had all good intentions. He was doing his best, right? But then, much later after his death, they went through and they killed millions of people. You know, they destroyed an entire races of people's spiritual background and lineage. The whole, you know, crusades and the and all that to destroy paganism and whatever. You know, I'm sure that wasn't part of the plan. I guarantee it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So the path to hell really is paved in good intentions. And and on the opposite end of that, there's also people that did horrible fucking things, and they wanted them to be horrible, and they expected them to be horrible. They were actively being evil. And in some cases, the people that are actively being evil also lead to an unpredicted outcome that's positive, right? Somebody could actively be doing evil, and other people might see that, realize it, and be like, fuck that motherfucker. Fuck what that dude's doing, and fuck everybody that's with that dude, right? And it creates an awakening of consciousness where people suddenly are aware of something which they weren't previously aware of. It might have been happening, but they weren't aware of it. And so the evil motherfucker that made everybody aware of the evil thing which was happening changed other people's minds and created awareness where before there was only consciousness, right? Or unawareness. And so the truth is that none of us can really predict any outcomes. The only truly virtuous act is nothing, right? But it's difficult to do nothing. So if you're going to do something, you should do what you personally enjoy the most, being as long as that thing that you enjoy is not creating harm in other people. Do you know what I'm saying? If you can enjoy anything without harming anybody, it's the best you can do aside from nothing. It's the only thing you can do better than that is nothing. But we didn't come here to do nothing. We came here to have a good fucking time. You know what I mean? To have a little fun with it. We came here to first get over the fact of our ego and to, you know, release our karma. And once we've proven that as a soul that we are aware that we can do that, then it's just time to have fun. So you got to figure out where you are in your soul's journey, not just your personal life's journey, and you got to like act on that. Or actually, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do a fucking goddamn thing. You know what I mean? You can just exist. And the truth is that the divine plan will work out no matter what you do, because even if you're not on the good side of it, you're still part of the plan. And truth be told, there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Frankie says, you're going to love the coffee in Costa Rica. Actually, I'm not going to love the coffee. Well, maybe I will. I'm sure I'll try it at some point, but I'm pretty well broken the addiction there. So it will be nice to enjoy some coffee from time to time, because there really is no right or wrong. It's just all about destroying weakness in the self. You know what I'm saying? Anything that bends you to its will, you know, especially an inanimate object, is definitely an Achilles heel of some sort that we can work on. But, you know, those finer details are, again, something that people will learn more through the embodiment of than through my words, because I can just yap all day. I did it for 100 fucking hours on YouTube, and I'm happy for the people that did resonate with my words enough to have to awaken some type of change within themselves. But the work is done and then it's forgotten, right? Another Daoist quote. And I said what I said. I can't take it back. I put a lot of work into it. It's going to do whatever it's going to do. We're going to rest assured that it's part of the divine plan. And I'm going to move forward with my life. But yeah, It's out there for everyone. I got nothing else to say, to be honest. And it says, I read something the other day, a question. It says, if the river does not strive to reach the ocean, yet always arrives, what does this teach us about the nature or purpose? Yes, I mean, it's the classic, you know, be like water, you know. Be like water. Thought about if the purpose arises without striving, then is the path chosen or does it simply unfold? What's your take on that? Well, the path is just a journey. There's no destination. You know, we walk the path for the sake of walking. You know, along the path, maybe there's a fruit we can pick and enjoy along the way. Sometimes our legs get tired. Sometimes we see a beautiful view, you know, but there's no destination, you know. You can walk and walk and walk, and there's always a new way to go until there's not. And at some point you've walked everywhere that you could walk, and you have no choice but to cross back over the same steps that you've already made in the past. Maybe you're walking the same steps going east instead of west, but nonetheless you arrive at the same place because you've gone everywhere and you've realized there was never anywhere else to go but inward. It's all inside of you. But you can never realize that just because somebody told you that. You can never realize that because, you know, you've seen some mystical symbolism that was an ancient truth. You know, you can never truly understand the magnitude of the words even without having walked the path yourself. So you just have to get out and start walking. Realize that you are gonna go somewhere. Wherever you were yesterday, you won't be there again if you keep moving forward until you've you've tried it all, you know. Yeah, and the truth is that you don't need to know anything. There's nothing lacking from your existence. There's nothing, you're not doing anything wrong, you know, and it's just, yeah, just let it happen. You know, there's not really much to the whole thing other than just saying, I don't know. What does teaching without words look like? It looks like, it's just to exist. It's just to exist. It's just to allow other people to feel your presence. It's just to be an embodiment of whatever you are, of your own completion. You know, if you are vibing super high and you encounter somebody who's vibing very low, it will agitate them. It will cause a discord for them. And when you feel agitated and you feel discord, you naturally start thinking about things. And, you know, for someone that's vibing very, very low, they're most likely going to bring their attention to some pretty negative aspects of their own ego and their own shadow self, right? And if you are vibing very high and you encounter somebody that's also vibing fairly high, right? Then you likewise trigger something in them where their vibration is increased, right? And that brings their attention and their awareness again, once again, to things within their mind, be them shadows or be them other things, like good things, light, you know? And if you're vibing at the very, very, very highest, and you encounter another person that's vibing at the very, very, very highest, then together you will resonate so strongly, this vibration, that it will be felt across the entire planet, even by people whom you are not, you've never spoken to before, you've never met. And this is a contagious thing. This is something that happens naturally without any kind of effort towards it, right? If you can reach that point of enlightenment where it simply becomes you. It's not just that, oh, you've seen a vision or you had an epiphany or whatever, that you've actually gone through and you've done the work on yourself and you've released everything and allowed yourself to resonate at your highest level. And if that becomes enough people on the planet that are like that, then the vibration of the entire planet changes, and so one torch lights the other, and you just start letting everything go. Like there's nothing really like, unless you feel like a completely and totally complete and content person that's happy with every aspect of your lifestyle or your life and ruled by nothing rules you, nothing has any grip over you, you have no addictions, you have no desires, you have no lust or pride, and that you embrace virtuous aspects and so on and so forth, then it's just it creates just an avalanche of awareness, right? And at some point there has to be a breaking point where people start noticing others who are in a low vibratory state and realizing that they are in need of help. Because like the way it is right now is, if you're in a low vibratory state, you're operating on greed and pride, and your ego is totally in control. People think you're cool in society right now. People think that that's great. They're like, oh yeah, fucking this dude's ego is just on another level. I want to be like that, right? And they see someone else like me or whatever, right? My dreadlocks or whatever, right? Beard, unibrow, whatever. And they go, that dude's mentally ill. That's what they say. They do. They think that. They're like, this guy is Looney Tunes. He must have lost it. He had a fucking crew cut like every other dude on the planet, and was, banging hot chicks on camera, getting money, wearing fucking bullshit fucking designer that just disintegrates over time, working spending time on this planet to obtain things which cannot be taken with you, right? And people are like, that's a win. If you gave all that up, you must be mentally sick. But meanwhile, here I am, more at peace than I've ever had at any other perceived high point, right, in my life. And the low points, fuck, people can't even fucking imagine. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even know what a fucking low point is. You know, they think this is a low. They don't realize that I fucking lived through actual hell. You know, I've seen and been to places that they can't even fucking imagine. And that I'm operating on a vast and diverse set of life experiences, which truly not a single person can understand. There may be people who have been to prison. There may be people who have been in the adult industry. There may have been people who have had severe spiritual awakenings that driven them to do things similar to myself. But nobody has truly had my experiences except for myself and God. You know what I'm saying? God having had these experiences through me, right? And so what is the point of me talking about things that nobody can understand? It doesn't really matter. I have nothing really to say. I would rather just enjoy myself and enjoy the fruits of my own liberation. And what is liberation if I'm going to impose rules on myself of what is moral or immoral or what's right and wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, what matters is, the only thing which I can control is my intention. I can't even control the outcome. You know what I'm saying? It's only the ego that thinks it can control the outcome or predict the future of anything. So why not just hold on to my own good intentions and enjoy life as much as possible? Anna says, I have another question following up on that, but I would first like to know your opinion. Well, there it is. There was my opinion. So that's kind of my whole thing. But let's hear the follow-up and any last-minute questions, because I want to try to keep these streams under an hour going forward. And try to do it a little more regularly. And I feel like we've been keeping up with a decent pace on this one, so let's go ahead and lace in the final thoughts. If anyone has any opinions or questions pertaining to aforementioned rant. And it says, if the past simply unfolds, how can we tell the difference between flowing with life and drifting without direction? It's a good question. Well, I don't think there really is a difference, to be honest. You know, at least not in the destination. Flowing with life, you know, is very different if you are, you know, in a lake, a nice calm body of water, or if you're in a raging river, you know. It can be even crazier, even much different, more again, if you're in the middle of a ocean and, you know, is the sun shining or is the wind blowing? Is the, you know, where's the moon? Like, what are the waves doing? You know, instead can just focus, and this is just my own strategy, of instead of trying to depend on a rudder for direction, right? Instead of depending on the favors of the wind or the conditions of the waters that you float on. Focus on building a vessel which can endure any type of situation. Build a vessel that can easily float on still waters. At the same time, it can, avoid from crashing into the shore if you decide to head down upriver or downriver. Build a vessel that, a tsunami itself cannot shake. Better yet, become a submarine where you can immerse yourself so deeply in water, so deeply within the ocean's depths, that even if the whole surface, even if there's a hurricane, absolute chaos could be happening everywhere around at the surface, but you're just so deeply embedded within the spiritual flow, within the profound depths of that primordial fluid, that you don't even notice. The waves can be crashing, the winds can be blowing, hurricanes can be happening, and nothing changes for you. Everywhere you look is just water. Noise says, humans are defined through character, not appearance. Well, you really got to define, when you say humans are defined, the question is, who is defining them? Who defines a human? What even is a human? Is a human the soul? Or is the human the machine? Right? Because unless you want to take a very, very, very scientific version of reality, you have to wonder, which part is the human? Right? Is the human the vessel? Is the human the brain? Or is the human something else which gives life to all of this, which makes all this possible? So how do we define the word human? Before we tried to define someone's character or someone's appearance, let's first define what is actually a human at all. Where do we draw the line? Big Hindi says, flowing, the few times I've felt feels energetically different. I'm almost have to snap back to reality when it's on. Yeah, it's crazy, but the thing is like, actually, you don't have to switch back to reality. And when you've unlocked that state, that flow state, naturally within yourself, maybe spontaneously, maybe through a lot of work, whatever brought you to that state, to me, my goal, because I have a similar situation where I kind of feel waves sometimes, and it's more or less becoming less wavy and more static, and I'm getting closer to the goal. But when those big when those big things happen where you're really locked in and you're 100% flowing, you can just hold on to that. And if you hold on to that, I don't know, it can be overwhelming sometimes. And it's hard, it becomes hard to operate in 3D world. But if you hold on to it long enough, eventually you get your footing and everything integrates, and you're able to take that with you while remaining functional. Or at least that's the way I view it in my current situation of trying to continue progressing. Carolyn says, thanks, Bruce. I really like the idea of us all vibing together in some directionally positive way. That's true. No, that is what it is. You know? Like I said, it's just people just learn more from, if you when you talk to somebody, you talk to their logical mind. This is the thing. This is why the words are cheap. When somebody asks a question or makes a statement and then you respond to it, this is an exchange between egos. The ego is simply the interface for the logical mind to communicate with your true self, right? It's yapping and you're listening, and then it says something and then you repeat what it says if you agree with it and you want somebody else to hear it, right? That's how it works. But when you do something, you just exist, or you be a certain way, and somebody else feels that, they observe that, or they, through whatever means, it has an effect on them. That's a communication between the intuitive mind. That's a communication that's happening on multiple levels. It's still happening within the logical mind, but it's also happening within the emotional, within the logical body, the emotional body, and the intuitive body, all many layers of yourself, many layers of you, of what creates you, are all touched, are all affected in that situation. But if I just talk to you, if I just say something, this is mostly your logical mind that's interpreting it, and then your logical mind is setting up your emotional body to feel some way about it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's already taking an extra step, and in doing that extra step, it's using the thing which we are trying to weaken from control over us as a middleman. And in doing that, it's strengthening that ego, it's strengthening that voice, because that voice is getting to chaperone the experience between me and you, because it's my words are heard by yourself that are then interpreted by the ego mind and voiced back at you, then you hear it again as yourself again through your own filter of mind. And then your emotional body reacts and decides how it wants to feel about that. And then, your true self takes all these different inputs and creates its own opinion, which is based upon vibration, and decides if it's empowered by this interaction, or if it's, getting discord from it. And so, rather than constantly talking and strengthening that ego mind, I think that it's better to simply embody something which has good intentions, And even if the path to hell is paved in good intentions, you know, let's at least enjoy the ride. Yaroslev? Yaroslev. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know Clover, no. Frank says, let your spirit remember what it knew before words, that you are already home in every breath. In every moment, go gently and let the way find you. That's amazing. I love that quote. I don't know who AMF is, but thank you so much for that. Much love to you as well. Yaroslev? I don't know what I'm saying. Noise says, has your perspective on life changed? Like, yeah, it's just changed. It's not really that it's changed so much. It's just that I'm not going to impose rules and try to interpret morals and values, and I'm not trying to be any type of I'm just not trying to do anything other than just be myself. You know, I just want to... Oh, you are AMF. Oh, nice. Well, the amazing quote. Amazing quote. I love those words. I'm just... I've decided that liberation means liberation. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just mean to be released from fear. Like maybe that's the very first stage of liberation. When you talk about spiritual liberation, personal liberation, self-liberation, you know, the first stage, because the thing that grips most people the tightest is fear. You know, mainly the fear of death. You know, and then, you know, after that is probably like pride. It's fear of humility, which is actually a virtue, right? Or hate, which is, you know, the opposite of love. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking takes you out of the highest form of vibration which you can have, aside from the highest form of all, which is authenticity, right? And so you can't have rules for yourself. You can't have opinions on morals and values and right and wrong if you're an authentic person, right? You're still falling into some degree of illusion. And the illusion is at that point not one simply that was placed upon you by society, but rather an illusion that was placed upon you by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you break free from the shackles of the world, you break out of the matrix, only to find bigger, stronger chains, and that you shackle yourself. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, well, then what? What do you do then? To be truly free is to integrate into yourself the reality that you do no harm, that you have no ill intentions, that everything that you do is good because you yourself are good. You know what I'm saying? The fact of the matter is that anything that you do is unpredictable. And so to understand that anything that you do is unpredictable, and combine that with the reality that you are a good person with zero ill intentions, with zero malice, then you can just be your most authentic self, and that most authentic self will always do its best not to hurt anybody. And that most authentic self with no ill intentions, no matter what you do, no matter what you choose to be a part of, that you will only make that thing better. So like for my example, myself, okay, maybe the adult industry is a negative entity and some negative things have happened there and people have had negative experiences and it's had negative effects on people's lives and so on and so forth. But was my part in it, did it make it better or did it make it worse? Did it do all those things that I aforementioned that were negative things? Did it do that in a way that was worse, that it achieved all those negative outcomes in a more efficient way? Or did it add something to the other side? Did it add something to where this negative thing that has negative outcomes on people's lives, did that thing as a whole have some positive outcomes as well, instead of only negative outcomes, because of my place within it, because of my partaking within it? Do you know what I'm saying? The actual outcome in the end is not predictable. Only the ego could think that it could predict something even remotely that complex. But if I know myself as a good person, if I know myself as having no bad intentions, then the logical outcome will be positive rather than negative. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as the spectrum of which everything plays out, right? Because everything's not white and black. Everything is really just a bunch of different shades of gray. And so authenticity is the key. But you can't be authentic if you don't even fucking know yourself. Because this whole ego and all this personality and shit that we create, this mask that we create, that's not us. This personality that we create and then blame on life for creating is not us. You have a core self, which is the real you, that's not reliant upon this physical body to exist. And if you strip away everything, you will uncover that, and then you can be your most authentic self. And that ultimately, I do believe, at the core of every person is that purity, and that you just have to embody it. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are. You know what I'm saying? Ross Leave says, bro, do you want to have kids and a family in the future? You know, I don't really think about the future, to be honest. I'm like locked into the moment. I could say yes or no. And then if I say no, I could end up getting some girl pregnant, and it could end up being the best thing that ever happened to me. I could be so happy in life because of that. Or I could say yes, and maybe I'm not even capable. Or maybe I do it and it was the worst decision ever. So knowing that I can't predict the outcome allows me to release the concept of desire. I don't have to desire anything. I don't have to desire an outcome. I don't have to look forward to a future. I don't have to do anything. I can just say that today is a beautiful day, and I have no ill intentions, and I can make all my decisions today. And you know what I mean? Like, if any of those decisions or outcomes happen to involve the physical acts that lead to children, then that can be a reality within my day today. But as it's looking like today, probably kids and family are not looking any more likely than they did yesterday. And that's how I live. You know what I'm saying? Laura says, is there a quote that changed your life or perspective of things? If so, which one is it? Is there a quote? No, there's not. There's a lot of quotes, which no. Okay, let me tell you. I don't know if there's any quotes that changed my life. Most of the quotes that are meaningful to me are ones that became meaningful to me after having an experience, which allowed me to understand them on a deeper level. But there is a quote from Daodejing, of course, that it haunted me for a long while. And it took me a long time and a lot of very deep spiritual realizations to understand it. And sometimes I still wonder if I understand it. Because I've had multiple realizations that made me think that I understood something, which eventually I came to realize more and to later realize that I was wrong. And that's contributed to my awakening from illusion. But the one that comes to mind is the Tao created one. One created two. Two created three. And three created 10,000 things. And that changed my perspective a lot. Or should I say that changed my understanding of the things which I experienced a lot. And there's another one, which I'm probably going to get wrong. And it's, the highest is known by few. The second highest is known and adored by many. The third is now I'm going to get this one wrong. But anyways, I'll just leave it at that, you guys. I hope that was a good stream. I love you guys very much. We went a little bit over the hour mark. Do some research. Read Daodejing. It's my favorite book. If you want all my favorite quotes, they all come from there. Aside from that, as above, so below. As within, so without. And I hope I inspired some positive thoughts for you today. Sam requires attention. All right. Adios.